brain fog, tiredness, and fatigued? Well, it turns out you are not alone. Let's understand what's going on with this energy crisis, identify the root causes, and review permanent solutions to overcome these energy deficits. In this episode, as usual, we will be looking at 4 key points: the reason some of us get tired and fatigued right after that lunch, a quick look at some useful molecules to quickly restore our energy levels back to normal, some insight into what could be responsible for our energy drain, and finally, we'll wrap up very quickly with information on how to prep these supplements and nutrients for fast and effective long-lasting results. The reason you seem to be running out of energy is that your mitochondria is either not working well or the energy is getting depleted by something else, which you will learn about in this episode shortly. But first, let's take a high-level quick look at what this mitochondria is all about. I promise this is not going to be a boring biology lesson. This episode will be tasteful. This is your cell, the round blue stuff. A group of cells makes us who we are. Inside our cells are these little organelles called the mitochondria, or in singular, the mitochondrion. And there are other organelles also residing in the cell, but not relevant in the topic of this episode. The mitochondria inside our cell is the energy powerhouse of the cell. In other words, the battery that powers the cell. It is responsible for producing all the energy our body needs to function throughout the day. If you do not provide the right combination of the necessary raw materials, i.e. nutrients, it requires to make energy in the form of ATP, you will start to feel tired and fatigued. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Don't worry about the fancy word for now. It is the energy currency that powers our entire body and organ systems. ATP is so important that if we run out of it, we are pronounced dead. If you provide inadequate nutrients to your mitochondria, it will downregulate and make just enough ATP energy to keep you alive, but you will always be tired, as you do not have enough ATP energy to perform your daily activities. Even if you do provide adequate nutrients and your mitochondria makes more ATP, other medical conditions could also be responsible for wasting the ATP and depleting it faster than your mitochondria can make it. Quick fix and an overview of the molecules and nutrients to be discussed in depth later in this episode. There are 2 mitochondria drink preps in this episode. These drinks and this class of supplements will reboot your mitochondria into action within hours. We want to look at PQQ, B-complex vitamins, creatine, sulforaphane. It's an interesting one that we can buy in the supermarket and eat it. L-arginine and ornithine, glycine and N-acetylcysteine, taurine, vitamin D3 and K2, magnesium, omega-3, DHA, EPA. These are fish oils. Don't worry if you can't afford these supplements. We will discuss how to prep the energy booster homemade drinks, and they're just as potent and effective as these supplements, if not better. Stay tuned to learn how to prep these molecules for a fast and effective result. Before we begin learning how to fix the mitochondria, we need to understand what is actually draining energy from our mitochondria. These health issues listed here are the leading causes of energy depletion. They steal the ATP energy from your mitochondria and leave you tired and worn out. Your mitochondria works hard to make ATP with the nutritional resources that you do provide. The ATP energy can be used up very quickly if you have any of these medical conditions and leaves you exhausted every day. Leaky gut or intestinal hyperpermeability. This is real whether your doctor agrees with you or not. We will discuss in detail on how leaky gut drain on your energy. That's coming up next. Insulin resistance or hyperinsulinemia. This drains on your energy through starvation of the cells in your body. More on the mechanism of action in the next chapter. And finally, nutritional deficiencies, which can manifest in thyroid hormonal insufficiencies, leading to hormonal imbalance. This was covered in another episode on how to save your thyroid from destruction. You can go ahead and listen to the thyroid podcast for a better understanding of its mechanism of action in energy depletion. Leaky gut. Let's take a quick look at how leaky gut depletes our energy. Scientists and researchers have shown that over 60% of our immune system lives and patrols the blood vessels behind our gut wall. Under normal circumstances, only digested nutrients should be entering our bloodstreams. But when we have a damaged gut wall, as shown in this image here, unnecessary nasty things start to leak into our bloodstream. Dead bacteria, viruses, nasty proteins from gluten, food particles, toxins, and lipopolysaccharides. When this happens, your immune system's patrolling the bloodstream goes into action to neutralize these toxic substances that have just entered the body. To do this battle, your immune system calls on your mitochondria to divert all ATPs and energy produced to the site of the action, so that the immune cells can use this energy to fight off the invading toxins that are just leaked into the bloodstream. This is when you start to experience brain fog, sleepiness after eating certain foods. When the battle is over, you are left with little or no energy to get through the day. I have unfortunately experienced this leaky gut energy drain, and this video here is an accurate reenactment of how I felt at the time. We will discuss leaky gut in more detail in a separate episode and cover the root causes as well as how to seal a leaky gut if you do have one. The next drain on your energy is a metabolic syndrome known as insulin resistance, or medically known as hyperinsulinemia. Insulin resistance is at the root cause of many metabolic diseases. This is a precursor to type 2 diabetes, as well as persisting in patients already diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance, as depicted in this diagram, shows the following. You eat, your body breaks down the food into different forms, then our pancreas will release a hormone called insulin to grab the glucose and take it into the cells for energy production, so that our mitochondria can use that glucose to make energy. But in the case of individuals with insulin resistance, the cells starts to reject the glucose. As a result, the liver and the insulin makes fat and stores for later use. Meanwhile, your cell is now starving and in need of food to make energy. In some cases, the body can break down muscle tissues to make energy, but this is insufficient and you start to feel tired and hungry. And you keep eating the wrong type of food, i.e. excess simple carbohydrate or glucose, and the cycle repeats until the body reaches a state of obesity or visceral fat accumulation around the waistline and the belly. Or in the case of muscle breakdown, the person ends up with skinny arms and legs. We will discuss insulin resistance in detail in another episode on type 2 diabetes. At a very high level, this is how insulin resistance drains on your energy through cell starvation. Natural remedies to repair the mitochondria. Before we discuss the supplements, these two homemade drinks are just as potent as all the supplements combined. This mitochondria booster drink is so potent that I use this for my pre-workout. On my heavy lifting days, I drink up to half a glass of wine of this stuff, but do not drink this much as it is extremely potent at revving up the mitochondria. It can keep you awake all night if you drink this much without burning it off through extreme exercise. I would recommend a small shot of this mitochondria booster drink is enough to gently reboot your mitochondria. The cellular energy drink, on the other hand, is packed with sulforaphane, a powerful intracellular and mitochondria booster. It is okay to drink up a full glass of this drink, but again, preferably before 2 p.m. to avoid sleep interference. You can pause this video now and take a screenshot of these ingredient preparation instructions. Mitochondria supplements. Now let's look at the molecules in supplement form. I have grouped these as power generator, antioxidant scavengers, and cofactors. The first group here are the PQQs, vitamin B complex, creatine, sulforaphane. These are molecules that promote mitochondrial energy production. They will directly target the mitochondria and support its function in making ATP, which is our energy currency. The second group here is the antioxidant group. We have the L-arginine ornithine, glycine, N-acetylcysteine, and taurine. These class of supplements will provide the necessary maintenance, repairing the mitochondria, removing dead cells, and neutralizing the reactive oxygen species from the cells so that the mitochondria can work better and produce more energy. The mitochondria gets damaged from making energy and generates free radicals, which is also toxic to the mitochondria. This is part of the energy production process. However, these molecules will help the mitochondria clean up and remove these free radicals. The next class here are the cofactors, which are the magnesium citrate or L-threonate, the vitamin D3 and K2, and the fish oils. Magnesium. Magnesium will support the overall metabolic processes in the body. Magnesium is involved in several hundred processes and it is essential in the metabolism of carbohydrate, among other processes. Magnesium L-threonate has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier to support the mitochondria in the brain and the neurons. Studies have shown that vitamin D is necessary for the functioning of the mitochondria and its protein synthesis, density, as well as efficiency of the mitochondria. Vitamin K2 is added here because of the relationship it has in working with vitamin D3 for calcium transport into the bones and teeth, so we take advantage of that. Omega-3 fish oils, the DHA and the EPAs, these will help keep the cell and the mitochondrial membrane intact and help with protein transport for mitochondrial energy production. This is also one of the reasons why I wouldn't take vitamin D in the evening, to avoid sleepless nights with too much energy production. In fact, I would recommend taking all mitochondria supplements as early in the day as possible, preferably before noon, to avoid interference with night sleep. You can select 2 of these supplements from each group to get the job done. Wrapping up, we have the short-term solutions and the long-term solutions summarized here. We want to stop eating foods that poisons the mitochondria. Processed foods are dead foods. They have no bioactive molecules and they have no enzymes. Dead foods equals dead mitochondria. We want to bring in supplements and or prep some homemade mitochondria drinks if the supplements are out of reach. And then long-term solutions, we want to identify and address the root causes of our energy drain, such as the leaky gut, insulin resistance, and or any toxins that may have entered the body. We want to update our diet, bring in some leafy greens and mitochondria supporting nutrients. This concludes this episode. Now you have the ingredients you need to reboot your mitochondria. You can go ahead and take some actions. Wishing you a healthy mitochondria.